What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Clams. It is an absolutely beautiful day here in Huntington on Long Island. By the way, my name is Will if you're new to the channel. The other day, if you go a couple episodes back, you'll see that I hit snappers. So now that I know that they're here, I'm actually going to make a little bit more of an effort to go out and catch a couple. So I'm running around a couple of docks here in Huntington. Really beautiful area. But I'm hitting the docks, casting in between the docks. I got super light tackle to actually make it kind of fun. And that brings me to what inspired me to come catch the snappers today. I was on a walk the other day and I saw something really cool that I haven't cooked with in a while, which I will show you in a little bit after we catch a fish. So let's get fishing. So I'm sure this is a really attractive angle. Anyway, I have really super light tackle. I got about 4-pound test on, a small 2000, an old Shimano Solstice, and a Fenwick HMX, really light rod. And then I'm just using a little spoon. I had a float on and I was trying it out with the float, but over here is a little bit deeper than my usual spot, so I'm trying to let this sink down and get the snappers to chase it up. So far we have one, so we might move spots in a second here. We are in. One snapper. There we go. All right, so I moved just across the bay here to the other side just to see if there's anything else, because they only got one on that spot. So we're gonna give a couple of casts over here, and if I don't come up with anything, what I'm gonna do is there's a trail back here that usually this time of year, we're in the beginning of September, when the temperature first cools, you could actually find some mushrooms back there. So we need to stretch that snapper as far as it can go to make what we're gonna make today. So yeah, I'm gonna fish for a little bit longer, and then we're gonna hit that trail and see if we could find some mushrooms. Tell me if you see any fish. All right, I'm not gonna bore you guys anymore with, I've made about 1,000 casts at this spot. There's not even bait fish over here, so there's not even a hatch to match, as they say. So we're gonna head over to the woods and see if we can find some mushrooms. Okay, now I can show you what I'm excited about and what actually inspired me to go fish today. Also, it's a little bit noisy because they are building a house right behind me, which makes it even more strange. Like, I go and get a coffee and I take this walk, and this is what I found. So what I am truly excited about, actually, is not the pumpkin, but the squash blossoms, the flowers, because what you can do with those is make a mixture, put them inside, batter them, and then fry them. And they are one of the most delicious things ever. Now, this is someone's property, so we're only gonna grab a couple. That's why I only needed that little fish and just a little bit of mushrooms. So let's be quick about it. Okay, so this trail almost never ever fails. They're a little past their prime, but for what we're doing, they're okay. But here's some chicken of the woods. Definitely past their prime, but you know, not too buggy. Still got some color to them. But again, like I said, for what we're doing, this is gonna work, and this is all I need. All right, so first things first, we gotta make our filling for the zucchini blossoms, and that's gotta set aside and cool. And our filling is just gonna be garlic, shallots, our little snapper. Hey, beggars can't be choosers. And our kind of sad looking chicken of the woods. Now, the only thing that we got that's actually in its prime that looks absolutely beautiful is our squash blossoms. I mean, those are a perfect specimen of squash blossoms. If you've never had them before, it's the faintest taste of zucchini or pumpkin. They're really amazing. Sometimes all you need to do is just saute these with a little bit of garlic. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So, I'm gonna do this all at once, everything together. So, on a medium heat, a little bit of olive oil. Yeah, we'll finish it off there. That mushroom's pretty dry, so it's probably gonna soak up a lot of our olive oil, which is okay. So, first our shallot. And if you haven't cooked with shallots before, I've said it in other episodes, but it's a very mild onion. It almost has a garlic flavor to it, but it's a little bit sweeter and a little bit nicer than using just a Spanish onion. But because it has a higher sugar content, it will brown in the pan pretty quickly. So that's why I'm using a bit of a more forgiving heat in the pan. And some garlic. Actually, big thank you to Mary Ellen, my mother's friend. She grew this garlic, so thank you very much. Some strong garlic, Mary Ellen. Nice dice going of the garlic. And now my chicken of the woods. And now before anybody gets on me for, oh, that's past its prime, oh, that's terrible. Listen, you take what you can get. It hasn't gone bad. As you can see, there are not any bugs really in there. And for what we're doing, it's gonna be perfect actually. And just because it's not pretty, doesn't mean it's not good. And if I feel any dry parts or anything looks especially buggy, take it out. It's not that big of a deal. Now I'm gonna let that mushroom cook down for a little bit, speed that process along. I got a little bit of garlic salt here, but the salt will help that move along. And as I can see, I don't know if you can see, that mushroom sucked that oil right up. I knew that was gonna happen. A little more heat. Now that's the only bad thing about the camping stoves. If there's any wind, you need something to block the wind because it really takes the flame away. Now with these guys, the snappers being so small like that, the scales are not an issue at all. Took the whole head off there. But the only thing I really want to take out are those rib bones. For the most part, the smaller bones will actually cook down much like a sardine. And just take out those ribs. Good. Put that aside. And we're going skin and all on this. Really, it's just to add another level of flavor. Obviously, there's not enough there to really truly be a fish dish. All right, nice shallots and garlic are browning. Those chicken of the woods, when you cook them, turn into the prettiest color. They really are gorgeous, gorgeous mushroom. And that fish, because he's so small, is almost disintegrating into almost like an anchovy would, which is not a bad thing. That's gonna lend a really, really beautiful, mild flavor. All right, I'm gonna let this cook down. I'm gonna let it simmer on a very, very low heat because as you can see, those shallots have caramelized, they're all crisped up. Any further, they're gonna start to burn and then it's gonna get bitter, which we do not want. Want it pretty much where it is. So I'm gonna keep that as low as it can go and let that go. And then we're gonna make our batter for our zucchini blossoms. The other thing is I have to take this off the heat and let it completely cool down. One other thing I want to add while this is simmering is I have some oregano that I got from out east, and just the florets on the end. Fresh oregano, now I know this is dried, but it was fresh and I dried it myself, is such a different flavor than what you get in that bottle or can. So if you're not an oregano fan, try to find fresh oregano and I think you will change your mind. It is so fragrant, that little bit. This dish is alive now. That is, between the garlic, that oregano, and the shallots. Wow. All right, we're gonna put this aside, let it cool down. Let's make our batter. So now for the batter, I just have about maybe 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We'll do 1 egg, a good amount of garlic salt, some cracked black pepper. Now start mixing that. As we're mixing that, we add just a little bit of water at a time. Now what we want is a pancake batter consistency. We're getting there. Now this is what I would call cake batter consistency. So we want it a little bit thinner than that. There we go. Now the other thing that's important is after you mix, whenever you're frying and make a batter, let your batter sit and actually go in the fridge for a little bit. I wouldn't just dip in this and start frying. I'm gonna let this rest for at least 10 minutes. And then we'll come back here, prep our squash blossoms, and cook them off. So now comes the tedious task of stuffing our squash blossoms. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's labor intensive. So what I did actually, when I took this out of the pan, I took it out, let it cool down, then I put it on a chopping board and really chopped it up so that it's nice and fine, so that I can get a lot of it inside of our blossoms. Now, you want to delicately open them up without splitting them. It's not easy. I don't know if you can see, but they're kind of cool. They never really truly open all the way up. I don't know if I'm showing you that right or not, but so take a little bit of our mixture, and that's why I only needed that 1 small fish and a little bit of the mushroom, because you're not putting a ton in here. And once you get that first spoonful in, it actually becomes a little bit easier to stuff them. Now you could do this with bacon, literal stuffing. I've done it with eggplant. You could do it really anything you could think of. Some people just put a small piece of cheese in. And what's cool about them is that they kind of wrap themselves up. So now that's all stuffed and ready to be dipped. So put that one aside and we get started on the next one. Now this guy's a little bit bigger. See, this is more so what I'm used to. I don't know if I was too early or too late for those guys, but this is a good one. Now some people go in and they take out, I'll show you, just so that you can put more in there, but I leave everything in. They take out the stamen. So they take out that part so that you can get a little more in there. But the other ones are too small. I'm not gonna do that. we're gonna leave them. How cool is that? So like I said, you want to be kind of delicate with them because if they split, then they won't really hold together. So if you get it open just a little bit. The other thing that you want to check for on these guys is to open them up and make sure there's no creepy crawlies in there. No beetles or anything. I've had that happen a bunch. So as a dipping sauce on the side, I just have a little bit of spicy mustard there and some mayo, and we'll squeeze in just a little bit of lemon. Just a little bit of lemon. Alright, so I'm going to put my pan on medium heat. I've said in other episodes too, these camping stoves are a little bit hard to regulate the heat. Bit of oil in there. The pan was a little bit hot to begin with. And then I have a paper towel here because I always like to take things out of the fryer onto a paper towel to soak up the excess oil. So now, let's put a little batter in there just to test our oil. Oh yeah. So you hold the top closed, dip them into the batter. And into the pan they go. Give them a flip. Oh yeah. Now you could deep fry these all together, but I kind of like doing them in the pan this way. It's a little more forgiving. I can add a little bit of heat to that. Those are beautiful. Beautiful! Beautiful, beautiful golden brown. And that squash blossom's so delicate, it really doesn't even need to cook. Like I said, you can lightly saute them. They're going to be cooked at the end of this. Oh, that guy's pretty. Lower my heat a little bit. I'm actually going to dump this oil because it's a little bit hot and some of the batter burned. So we're going to dump that, wipe it out, and start with new oil. Alright, and the same thing again for round 2. we go. Let's plate them up. All right, we have our mustard, mayo, lemon sauce. So when I was cooking in restaurants, you know, like anything else, have trends, and they get dated. And one of the trends when I was working was what was called the dump and swoosh, which is this. You put down your sauce and then give a swoosh. And what's funny is that was the be-all, end-all. Somebody figured that out and everybody started doing it. And then you'd go to places and it was like, if you saw that on your plate, you were like, oh, these guys are clowns. They're behind the times. Now, if I was to do this again, the only thing that I would change is that I would have added a little bit of cornstarch to the batter to make these a little bit crunchier. That's enough on that plate. Put those guys on another plate, but there you go. There's our mushroom bluefish snapper stuffed squash blossoms. Now, if there was ever a dish that screamed fall, that's it right there. Well, all right, let's dig in. A little bit of lemon. I like lemon on anything fried. It just kind of lightens up the dish. But, those squash blossoms are so good. The bluefish, like I said, it's just kind of adding a little bit of umami flavor. The mushrooms are not dry. They soaked up enough oil. But that is an absolute flavor bomb between the shallot and the garlic. Yeah, next time, a little bit of cornstarch in the batter, just to give it a little bit more of a bite, because that zucchini blossom, as you're sauteing it, is releasing so much moisture. Everything inside the mushrooms are still releasing moisture, so a lot of that is going out into the batter. When you pull them off, everything inside is steamy, so it's kind of not making the batter mushy, but just kind of softening up a little bit to where it doesn't have that crunch it did when it came straight out of the pan. So a little bit of cornstarch would help that, but otherwise, I'm really happy with that. All right, guys, thanks a lot for this episode. If you like it, hit like. That makes a huge difference. And subscribe, share it with your friends. If you hate it, leave a comment. Go ahead, I love them. I'll talk to you. I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, so real quick, this would not be a Long Island episode if we didn't get Mama Clams in it. So dig in.
It looks great.
Little peppery, yep.
Yeah.
Pepper in there. Well, you tell me.
Well, if the words you put in my mouth are as good as the food that you put in my mouth, I'll let you do that.
Okay. Well,
I like the mustard sauce, but it takes away.
You think it takes away? From
the flavor of the fish and the coating.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
Once again, thank you.
All right, so if you make that at home, no mustard sauce. But I like it because it cuts through the batter, but you know, maybe just that little bit of lemon is more than enough on top. But all right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.